Hello everyone. On August 12th, 2026, in the late afternoon, the moon will pass in front of the sun along a narrow band crossing Spain. Day will turn into night. I wanted to understand what would really happen. So I built the EclipseFan site to visualize the phenomenon. The principle is simple. You pick a point on the map and the site calculates what will happen at that exact spot. The duration of the eclipse, whether it is total or partial, and the time of maximum. Times are shown in local time by default, but you can switch to universal time by clicking here on the time bar. You can also open the options menu and choose local time here. And notice that the application is available in 5 languages. Now let's compare several locations. Take Toulouse, for example. I can type Toulouse in the search bar, click on the suggestion, and the eclipse circumstances are calculated for Toulouse. We see a partial eclipse at 97.9% taking place in 9 days. We can see how the eclipse will look at maximum. And that maximum occurs at 8:26 p.m., with sunset at 9:04 p.m. If we scroll down a little further, there is also a horizon calculation showing us at what time and where the sun and the eclipse will sit relative to the horizon. Now if we move to the region of Burgos this time, let's type Burgos. Here it is different. We get a total eclipse lasting 1 minute and 47 seconds, and this eclipse happens at 8:29 p.m., so not exactly the same time as in Toulouse. Now to understand why observers in different places do not see the same eclipse. The moon's shadow arrives from the Atlantic, crosses Spain, and heads out to the Mediterranean. The time slider, set to minutes, lets you follow the path of the shadow as time passes. Where it passes, the eclipse is total, and everywhere else it is partial. Layers displayed on the map let you choose exactly which information you want to see. The lunar shadow, for instance, and you can decide to show it or hide it. Same for the eclipse track. A time slider also lets you move far more precisely around the event, and in particular to watch, in real time, how the eclipse will look, where the shadow is, and when sunset arrives. So, as you've gathered, I decided to go to Spain, and the next question was, which site should I choose? Because being inside the path of totality is not enough. On August 12th, the eclipse happens late in the day, and across Europe the sun will be very low on the horizon. In Palma de Mallorca, for example, if we look at the results, we can see that the sun will be very low on the horizon. At 2 degrees of elevation. 2 degrees is the width of 4 fingers held at arm's length. At that height, a single hill is enough to hide everything. This layer shows exactly where the terrain will hide the sun, in particular at the moment of maximum eclipse, which lets you spot the places where you must not be. Here, for example, in Mallorca, the sun would be hidden. The map shows information in the form of layers. These layers can be switched on or off as needed. Some of them also have a legend, and you can adjust each layer's opacity. Here, only a handful of layers are displayed. There are many more. In particular, a list here, grouped by family. eclipse information, events, weather forecasts, safety information, satellite history, and the different base maps available. I won't go into detail. Obviously, that's a lot of information, and we don't display it all at once. That's why we've prepared the idea of views here. Example maps with pre-selected layers that answer one specific question each. For instance, what we've just seen. Understanding the eclipse. You can display the list of organized events, and then we can look at a crucial piece of information. The weather forecast. Because you can be at a perfect site and still be blocked by cloud cover. The eclipse chaser's worst enemy. The weather forecast view sets the time to now. So you're seeing the clock at the moment this video was recorded. The weather for August 3rd at 11:37. Forecasts rely mainly on Météo France's Arome model, which covers a wide area around the path of totality. Here is the weather for August 3rd at 11 a.m. Now we can move the weather later into the day. Around 8:30 p.m., as if we were watching the eclipse today. We can see the weather improving late in the day, which is good news. We can also look at the weather for August 4th, August 5th, and so on. The weather data comes from several different models. And here again, with the time slider, we can see how far ahead the data goes. Here, for instance, the latest forecasts available are for August 8th. So as time goes by and we get closer to August 12th, the forecasts will reach the date. For now, we only have data up to August 7th, roughly. EclipseFan also keeps a full history of weather data going back to July 11th, which is very handy when you want to look at July 24th or the 30th, and so on. There's a subtlety that comes from this very low sun. A forecast gives the cloud cover above your head. But when the sun is at 9 degrees, as here in Burgos, you are not actually looking above your head. You are looking towards the sun almost horizontally. A cloud 50 kilometers away could hide the eclipse from you while the sky right above you is perfectly clear. So the sight traces the ray going from your eyes to the sun and checks what it crosses. Here, for example, it will calculate that if it crosses the layer at 1,500 meters, the sky is clear. At 4,000 meters and at 8,000 meters, clear as well. Now if you move, say to this point here, it detects that at 4,000 meters your line of sight meets a cloud, and so the view will be blocked. So within a few kilometers, assuming of course that the estimates are correct, you would miss the sight of the eclipse. Still on forecasting, you can look into the history of the place you've chosen, in particular through satellite images taken recently or a year ago. We're lucky to have a satellite called Terra, which passes every day at 10:30 and lets you see the whole of Europe. Here is today's image. We can also go and look at the view from the day before, and then move closer to the time of the eclipse. And here we have a second satellite, passing around 1 p.m. Now let's talk about a very important view, the one covering safety and health at the time of the eclipse. In mid-August, there are many wildfires in the region. Keep well away from danger zones and follow the local authorities' instructions to the letter. The site also lets you see smoke, aerosols, and Saharan dust, which can affect either your health or the visibility of the eclipse. It also shows a number of recommended secured sites, particularly in Spain, that will let you watch the eclipse in the safest possible conditions. Plan your trip into the path of totality well in advance. Roads get saturated and phone networks go down. And when the network is gone, there is always paper. In 3 clicks, the site builds you a paper wheel, calculated for your observing site. You choose, you download, and the PDF opens. Just print it, cut it out, and assemble it to have every moment of your eclipse in your pocket, with no battery and no network. Another video shows you how to use it. One last point. The address of the page you're looking at contains everything: the place, the time, the layers, the panel. If you copy this link and send it to someone, when they open it, they will land on exactly the same screen as you. Bookmarking the URL lets you come back every day to exactly the same map. EclipseFan also works on your mobile phone, on site, on the day. That's almost it for this video. Finally, the most important thing: never look at the sun without protection. Use certified eclipse glasses, and if you have binoculars or a telescope, use a proper filter placed at the front of the instrument, never at the eyepiece. That's the end of this video. Clear skies to you all. See you soon.